We are about to start the first day of questioning of the undercover police officer HN18, Robert Hastings, who, using the cover name Rob Harrison, infiltrated the International Solidarity Movement, No Borders, the Rampart Social Centre, State of Emergency, numerous other groups.
ISM,
International Solidarity Movement, yeah. I'm joined with Donald O'Driscoll from the Undercover Research Group. What are we hoping to hear from Rob Harrison today?
well,
Hastings.
Well, if he had any sense, a mea culpa, give up the ghost and admit that he's a violent sexual abuser. He should never have been deployed and should never have been a serving police officer. Yeah. That's what we hope for. Yeah. Reality is going to probably be a lot more dissembling, a lot more ducking and diving. But as we've heard over the last week, the cards are stacked against him.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who haven't been following the evidence over the last week, it has been incredibly damning. Incredibly. Maya, who gave evidence last Wednesday, was some of the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking evidence, disgusting, appalling behavior by this man who is clearly like a serial abuser, a predator. Just unspeakable, disgusting.
Quite a lot on inquiry. You hear shocking things, and you have to. But the atmosphere after Maya's evidence was just like it was stunned. People were stunned. It was just like the degrees of depravity that this man's capable of. Yeah, he's a stalker.
Yeah, we also heard from Atif Chowdhury, who was a man who he befriended, and I mean, like his behavior in that relationship was pretty bad as it goes as well. We haven't seen it. We've seen some of his reports. We haven't really kind of delved very deeply into the kind of the way the groups that he infiltrated and the way in which he manipulated the political organizations he were involved in. We heard a bit about his final act as an SDS officer, which turned out to be a final act of the SDS in general yesterday, with his arrest at 2007 Dicey, the arms fair in East London. He was the. I guess he is the last. I mean, he is the last SDS officer to give evidence at the inquiry. But in many ways, he is the last SDS officer in general, really.
Yeah, there was only a couple of them. There was a few left to be deployed who never got into the field, but he's the last big one. So this is a moment in the inquiry. We still have the managers coming in summer, but as you say, in terms of the undercovers, he is the last one. So we will hear a lot about those 2 closing years and his own role within that.
We heard bits of that from Simon Wellings, the HM118. Irritatingly, this is HN18. That was 118, right next to each other. But those dying days of the SDS, where the unit was sort of limping on, like no longer, unloved by its customers. I'm sure there'll be a lot of that stuff.
Well, the SDS still had this the special branch. We are a special branch. We are the elite, and the rest of the police are going, "What are you? You're not a real unit, and you have lots of problems." So you've this thing is like, "Well, we're special," and the rest of them going, "No, you're not. You're actually out of order." And when you going back, somebody did a podcast a while back as the closing report, you just see how the rest of the police were going, were shocked about what was going on. Rob Harrison is, at the peak of that depravity and abuse that started much earlier on. So we've reached. This is the crescendo reaching its high point.
Yeah, I mean, it feels weird, man. We're like, it's been 5 years. We've been 5 years living with the SDS. And this is the end of the field officers. It feels, though it feels it's taken an age, it also feels it's been done in a massive rush.
Yes, and every officer, even the ones that weren't supposed to be significant, have all turned out to have major issues. It's just been one shocking story after another. It's amazing we haven't come totally desensitized. It's been so unrelenting. And yes, it has been 5 years, but it's been 5 years of, oh my God. And Harrison will be, for this lot, will be the final one. Yeah,
I mean, it's actually 6 years, isn't it? Sorry, not 5. Which
feels like 60 years.
It feels like a great deal longer than that. Yeah. I mean, Harrison is Rob Hastings. He's like, I've always said that this is the worst undercover cop since the last one. They're always the worst one we've heard. But I'm really getting the impression from what we've read from the fact that he, the whole incident of re-entering into Maya's life, after the inquiry had been announced, I mean, his behavior is shockingly bad even by SDS standards.
Yeah, although he's not the only one to do that. Chitty, going back to the 80s, James Thompson. I think there's lots of each one is worse than the other. It's like each one finds a new way to be morally unacceptable. It's just like if there's a small little gap that they can be morally unacceptable in, they will find it and widen it. So it's like, and this is what makes me wonder about all the other undercovers that we have not heard from. It's like, are we really expected to believe that they were above reproach and didn't do anything? Because everything we know about this unit is they have no moral compass. Words.
I mean, totally. I mean, I don't think there's been a significant deployment that hasn't done something appalling. There was a point that was made very strongly, I think, by Emily Apple yesterday towards the end of her evidence about those closed hearings. We haven't heard from the majority of SDS officers, not even the majority of living ones. A huge amount of the evidence of this inquiry has taken place in closed. We don't know what percentage of the inquiry has been enclosed. It may be the majority. We simply don't know. And the fact that there has been no counterpoint to any of that evidence, there's not even been a registered legal representative on behalf of any of the non-police, non-state court participants. It's simply been the police themselves presenting evidence, presenting their narrative to the chair without challenge, essentially. I mean,
and this is why it needs the non-state. The inquiry has said before that it can do stuff without us. It's really clear that's not the case. They need our evidence because we're time and time again, we're able to go, no, this is true. If you read the police documents, you will have this illusion they created for themselves. We're the only people who went through those and can actually dismantle it. And that's not just for the undercovers, it's for the managers, because they're all part of this ongoing myth-making and denial and refusing to take responsibility for any of their actions.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be kind of obvious to people who are watching at home, but like so much of the questioning that is put to the undercover officers or managers when they appear at the inquiry is the result of things that are put in by lawyers for the court participants. The whole sections when you can, this topic, that topic will have been introduced. It might be from the police, it might be from non-state, non-police court participants. But like the sort of foundation of the way in which questions are asked is really as a result of a collaborative approach by numerous people who are involved in the inquiry. And that key element is completely missing in the closed hearings. So we don't know what form they take. I mean, is it just a parade of like, didn't you do a wonderful job? Well, yes, I did do a wonderful job. I mean, it could easily be. We have no idea.
What we don't know, because we don't know who the barristers are questioning, we don't know, it's like, are they being properly tested on their evidence? And and this is a critical part of open justice, is that you can see the testing. You can judge whether there's dissembling, whether they're doing a Lambert and just clearly lying through their teeth. We're reliant on MITting to do that, and whatever counsel to do that work for us. And how there have been moments when the questioning in the inquiry has been spot on, and there have been plenty of moments where it has been appalling. And if that's what we're relying on, it doesn't give confidence.
No, none whatsoever. I mean, it is a worry, I think, because I mean, this is going to shape. We've already heard from the chair when at the end of Lindsay's evidence, where he said that immortal line: "If only you knew what I knew." 45 minutes WMD. I mean, it's like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
but every time we do see that, it's like, okay, but let's look at this other evidence you haven't taken, and that's why we don't trust.
No,
and that's what worries us.
Yeah, because I mean, there have been there's so many of the undercover officers have within their deployment this big plot that they foiled, and in every case, this has turned out to be bullshit, for want of a better word.
And these big plots keep getting recycled again. So a key one is Wellings was the Ariel Sharon, which turned out to be a disgraceful bit of racial profiling. Lambert and stopping an ALF cell when he was the one who burnt down Debenhams. And so on. It's like this is a repeating pattern. And the fact that when you look at things like the closing documents, it's the ones we've exposed as being totally fraudulent are the ones they're relying on. They're not relying on, I haven't heard of that incident, that must be a closed officer or something else. It's like, so what how are we to trust?
Yeah, quite. I think that's a really key point, is that that these big sort of these they're not aberrations, they're not little side things that they secretly did this. These are the central part of like what's good about the unit, and they're bullshit. Like there is no big thing. There is nothing that they've stopped. There's nothing they've prevented that makes you go, oh well, maybe there was a reason for that.
In fact, if I think the opposite, they boiling at June the 18th.
Mm.
And we'll see with Rob Harrison. He was pushing and promoting the sack parliament. Then, which 38 people were arrested.
And bullshit arrests, by the way. Yeah, I mean, fucking hell.
There's questions like, what are they doing? And intelligence gathering, but they're also doing a bit more than just intelligence gathering. They one of the things that will interest me in Harrison is how much he thinks he's identified with us.
Right,
as part of his justification for what he was doing, how much he's going to play, that sort of.
Well, something which came up during Emily's evidence was something from his written statement where he talked about that final arrest when he got arrested along with 20 activists on the first day of Dicey 2007, which led to the unit being shut down. And he said, well, he's using an excuse essentially, but he said, it was a successful operation because what we did was we managed to get bail conditions placed on all these activists, prevented them from doing any other activity that could have caused publicity for the rest of the week. And it's this, we know that the police use bail conditions as a form of punishment, but like it just shows, the level to which they're like, oh yeah, this was. It's not like things went wrong and he ended up arrested. No, it was a successful operation. This is what they were setting out to do, to get everybody arrested so they couldn't protest.
Yeah, and I think Emily had a lot of interesting points around that. It's like, and she really pulled it back to like fundamental bases. It's like in Britain. It follows the Human Rights Act, Articles 10 and 11, the right to free assembly and the right to free speech. And what is the primary objective of the SDS is to stop both those human rights. There is a right to protest, and then it was very clear. It's like if you cross the line, you expect to get arrested. You'll stand up in court and say why. But it's your right to go and get arrested. Yeah. In many ways, what they're trying to do was essentially thought control. It's a deeply dystopian thing, and something we really haven't got far enough in the inquiry questioning is the ideology of these undercovers. And I think when you scratch the surface, what you're looking at is something very right wing.
Incredibly,
very anti-pro, and wanting to protest, seeking social change is itself their definition of subversion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions on what do you mean, subversion is overthrowing parliamentary democracy, blah, blah, blah. Actually, what they say is anything that attacks the status quo or makes anything better is their real definition of subversion and how they justify all these horrendous deployments.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the case that they see like a protester is synonymous with criminal, essentially, in the eyes of these men.
And that makes them entitled to do what they did with Emily, which was, basically to give her a breakdown by constant harassment. It's like what they did was no different from stalking. They drove, and Rob Harrison is stalking Maya in person, Fittings are stalking Emily in person. It's like they're not two separate processes, they're both part of the Metropolitan Police system.
Yeah, and a strategy, which comes from the very top. The Home Secretary himself said that it was harassment style policing. This was done on purpose. The idea of it was to give people mental health problems so they wouldn't mobilize because they wouldn't be out on the streets.
And it's also the very same year where they bring in the Protection from Harassment Act, originally designed to stop stalkers, used to say that protest is stalking, therefore we can we can take away your rights.
It's going to be another bleak day at the undercover policing inquiry.
But I think Rob Harrison or Rob Hastings is going to struggle. He has a very, very deep, dark pit to climb out of, and his only way of doing that, of actually seeing the light, is to admit stuff. But I think, as with all the undercovers, if we've discussed it between us of these things, they haven't got the intelligence to see the writing on the wall.
No, they really haven't. I'm looking for. I'm hoping it's David Barr who's going to be doing the questioning.
I think it might be Sarah Hemingway.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I'm surprised.
It could be. That's
okay, but I mean, in terms of how he gets questions, we can only hope that he is skewered. Quite frankly, we had one comment from Proudhon, regular commenter. Rob Hastings is super villain level, a horrific sadist. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, full agreement, comrade. Full agreement. Yeah. All right. Well, the broadcast will start at about 10:10. We'll be going into the room at 10 o'clock. It'll be there's no, as I understand it, there's no restrictions on the broadcast whatsoever. Just had another comment again from Proudhon. It's very reminiscent of Ghislaine Finelli, the way the pigs behaved and still do honestly, inexcusable. Absolutely. I mean, that's the French woman who was subject to drugged rape by a husband who was, that whole horrific story. And I think it's very true. Shame must change sides. In many ways, the SDS were a rape gang. And I think, Robert Hastings was one of the foremost sort of abusers within that. Absolutely appalling, horrific. Tune in at 10:10 on YouTube. The link is in the description. There's no restrictions as far as I understand it on the broadcast, so it'll be video and audio. It'll be a 10-minute delay. There's none of it should be suspended. I'm sure there will be breaches at some point. I will be reporting throughout the breaches. I will not be breaking any breaches. I can assure you of that. Join us again during the first break. We're doing reports throughout the day. Bye for now.